Globally, it is increasingly plain that a bold stand for the uniqueness of Christ crucified, not to mention the finishing of the Great Commission among hostile peoples, will cost the Church suffering and martyrs. The post-9/11 world is marked with terror. If Christian hedonism is to have any credibility, it must give an account of itself in this world of fear and suffering. Increasingly, I am drawn to the Apostles' experience described in the words, sorrowful, yet always rejoicing. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 10. Autobiographically, the years since the first edition of Desiring God have been the hardest. The body ages and things go wrong. Marriage, we found, passes through deep water as husband and wife pass through midlife. We made it, but we will not diminish the disquietude of those years. We were not ashamed to seek help. God was good to us. Moving through our 6th decade of life and our 4th decade of marriage, the roots are deep, the covenant is solid, the love is sweet. Life is hard, and God is good. The other marriage in my life, with Bethlehem Baptist Church, has been a mingling of heartache and happiness. Can so much devastation and so much delight coexist in one community and one soul? It can. The Apostle Paul spoke a deep pastoral reality when he said, "If we are afflicted, it is for your comfort and salvation." 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 6. But there is a joy without which pastors cannot profit their people. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 17. Mercifully, God has preserved it for 22 years, and the truth of this book has been His means. During these 17 years since Desiring God first appeared, I have been testing it and applying its vision in connection with more of life and ministry and God. The more I do so, the more persuaded I become that it will bear all the weight I can put on it. The more I reflect and the more I minister and the more I live, the more all-encompassing the vision of God and life in this book becomes. The older I get, the more I am persuaded that Nehemiah chapter 8 verse 10 is crucial for living and dying well. The joy of the Lord is your strength. As we grow older and our bodies weaken, we must learn from the Puritan pastor Richard Baxter, who died in 1691, to redouble our efforts to find strength from spiritual joy, not natural supplies. He prayed, "May the living God, who is the portion and rest of the saints, make these our carnal minds so spiritual, and our earthly hearts so heavenly, that loving Him and delighting in Him may be the work of our lives." When delighting in God is the work of our lives, which I call Christian hedonism, there will be an inner strength for ministries of love to the very end. J.I. Packer described this dynamic in Baxter's life. The hope of heaven brought him joy, and joy brought him strength, and so, like John Calvin before him and George Whitefield after him, two verifiable examples, and it would seem like the Apostle Paul himself, he was astoundingly enabled to labor on, accomplishing more than would ever have seemed possible in a single lifetime. But not only does the pursuit of joy in God give strength to endure, it is the key to breaking the power of sin on our way to heaven. Matthew Henry, another Puritan pastor, put it like this: "The joy of the Lord will arm us against the assaults of our spiritual enemies, and put our mouths out of taste for those pleasures with which the tempter baits his hooks." This is the great business of life, to put our mouths out of taste for those pleasures with which the tempter baits his hooks. I know of no other way to triumph over sin long-term than to gain a distaste for it because of a superior satisfaction in God. One of the reasons this book is still working after 17 years is that this truth simply does not and will not change. God remains gloriously all-satisfying. The human heart remains a ceaseless factory of desires. Sin remains powerfully and suicidally appealing. The battle remains. Where will we drink? Where will we feast? Therefore, Desiring God is still a compelling and urgent message. Feast on God. I never tire of saying and savoring the truth that God's passion to be glorified and our passion to be satisfied are one experience in the Christ-exalting act of worship, singing in the sanctuary and suffering in the streets. Baxter said it like this.